The Mavericks blow out the Wizards at home behind a big night from Klay Thompson. We'll break it all down. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys cover your favorite team every single game night. Really appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports as the Mavericks get a vintage performance from Klay Thompson, and they blow out the Washington Wizards in a wire-to-wire win, 130-108 to earn their 25th win of the season. We'll break it all down coming up over the next hour here on DLLS Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and also do the same for our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. I already see you in the chat, JP, Luke, Ronald, Soren. I see you in there as well, celebrating a good win for this team as the Mavericks used what was 20 made three-pointers tonight, 6 guys with at least 10 points in this game as the Mavericks improved to 25-22 on the season, 14-10 at home. Meanwhile, the Wizards now have lost 14 straight games. In a game, Tim, where the Mavericks led by as many as 38 points, a fast start led by a vintage performance from one Klay Thompson tonight in the first quarter.
I mean, they led 42-16 at the end of the first quarter. They led by, at one point, 69-36.
Yeah.
That is an unholy basketball score. That is not a basketball score I have seen since, like, a high school team, like a good high school team beat up on a bad high school team. Like that is truly just dominant stuff from Dallas. And look, of course, Washington made it easy, but this game was over because Klay Thompson went off in the first quarter. It was over by the time he hit his 6th and 7th threes, you know, in the final minutes of the first quarter, because that's what Klay Thompson can still do. And yes, the Wizards are bad, but Klay Thompson can still be a very good basketball player. He was that tonight. It was a lot of fun. It was just a rollicking win from start to finish. It's exactly what Dallas needed to kind of reset and get back on track.
Kind of one of those wins that cleanses the palate a little bit after what happened on Saturday against the Boston Celtics. The Mavericks able to take out some frustration, but more importantly, get up three-pointers. They took 45 three-pointers in this game, made 20 of them. They took all of 22 in the game on Saturday against Boston. That was the difference tonight. By the way, their 21st game this season with at least 6 guys scoring at least 10 points in a game, and Klay Thompson scoring all 23 points that he had in this game in the first half. P.J. Washington, big night for him, 19 points, 9 rebounds, playing some bully ball, getting inside the paint pretty much whenever he wanted to. And another really good performance from Daniel Gafford, 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 blocks. His 4th game this season with at least 5 blocks in a game. This is the kind of performance that we know Daniel Gafford can have against teams like this, and he had another one tonight, especially on the defensive end, denying shots at the rim, had a really nice block on Jonas Valanciunas, was led to a layup for him on the other end. I thought Gafford came to play tonight as well for Dallas.
Oh, yeah, all the starters are awesome, you know, except for Kyrie, and Kyrie, like, very clearly was like, I don't need to be the savior tonight. I don't got to be that guy.
Right.
You know, like, everything's fine. They're going to take care of it. You know, Dallas, Jason Kidd is never beating the allegations that he has a burner Twitter and just constantly refreshes, or that he's on Reddit. Like, there was so much conversation after the Boston game about Klay Thompson, about the fact he only got 4 shots. Does he need more shots? Is Jason Kidd maximizing the number of shots? I have some thoughts on that. I'm still kind of, you know, honestly generating exactly how I feel, looking at a bunch of stats. Going to write about it here soon, but what I'll say is that Dallas very clearly, they started this game just spamming off-ball action. So one day after all the discourse is, oh my God, are the Mavericks using Klay Thompson well enough? By the way, sneak peek, spoilers, but I think my answer is just that you really need Luka back. That solves a lot.
I mean, that
solves
a lot of problems.
That solves most of the Klay stuff.
Yes.
But against a team like the Wizards, it can work because the Wizards, I didn't think that the effort wasn't there from them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the mental effort, because that was a team that was, for the most part, trying. It's not like they completely quit on their coach, on themselves. I thought they were trying. They were running around. They were hustling. But they weren't treating Klay Thompson like a shooter, not with the fear that you should, which is, out of every single player who played in that game, you would think that would be the guy, Klay Thompson, that you would like really pay attention to, that you would be like, all right, this guy can shoot. This guy is dangerous. Maybe we should guard him. So Dallas just kept running. They'd run him, around off-ball sets. They'd run him through elevator actions. And Klay, they weren't wide open shots for the most part, but they were open enough. And once Klay got the first couple to go down, there was no hesitation to the trigger. He was just getting those shots off. And that, it's so fun to watch. Like, we have commented before about how sometimes, I don't want to say overthinking, but you just pump fake sometimes on shots and things like that. There was none of that tonight. It was when he had space and when he knew he had space, it was going up and the ball was going through. And that was awesome. And so that's, I think, what Kyrie saw early on. He saw that the team was getting off to a huge lead without him. And Kyrie kind of coasted with a 50 or 60% effort game when your, second best player has a bad back and he realizes there's a game that he doesn't need to go all out, I'm pretty okay with that. So all the other starters absolutely were awesome, picked up, did everything that they were supposed to do. It's really nice to have a game that Kyrie plays in, but he also can kind of coast in. I think that's also, just from Kyrie and the perspective of keeping him healthy all season, that's really important. So there's definitely some standouts off the bench, but overall, I thought the starting lineup, if you look at the plus minuses, that's who, at the start of the first, throughout the first, and then to start the third quarter a little bit as well. That's really the guys who came out and, put this into this game. Truly ended this game in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was over after the first quarter. Credit to Spencer Dinwiddie. He assisted on 5 of the 7 3-pointers that Klay Thompson made in the first half. I see it in the chat as well. Max tying a career high with 20 points tonight as well, getting more and more comfortable with his role on this team.
We'll get to him. Yeah.
We'll get to him throughout the course of the show as well, but I wanted to make sure I acknowledge that we saw that in the chat as well. And I also want to acknowledge Tanner, someone who else is in the chat as well. His name is Bobby Carella. He's the guy that usually does this show with us.
I've never heard of that name in my entire life.
Never heard of that? Well, he's spamming.
Dead to me. He's not here.
Well, he's spamming the chat right now. Hi, Bobby. Enjoying a nice dinner with GM Ben and watching the show.
Bobby, what'd you have for dinner?
Yeah, let us know what you had for dinner. By the way, CHGO having some nice things to say about our show as well. So shout out to our brothers and sisters with CHGO on the All City Network as well. At the Mavericks, we talked about it during the pregame show, Tim, that the Mavericks had to come out and set a tone early on, get off to a fast start, and that's exactly what they did. And the title card that we had in our pregame show, don't mess around. And I felt exactly that they did that in that first quarter. You mentioned with the 42 points that they scored. Klay Thompson, it felt like the basket was as big as an ocean for him, taking off-balance three-pointers, taking three-pointers in transition. It was a night that kind of reminded you of why Klay Thompson is arguably the second greatest three-point shooter in the history of the game behind his former Splash brother, of course, and Stephen Curry. And it was good to see Klay be able to have one of those games because he hadn't had one of those in quite some time, and he was able to do that tonight.
You know how sometimes when a player, usually this happens with a younger player, they're struggling a little bit or just haven't got a consistent run of form, and a team will send them down to the G League to get a bunch of shots up and score and get their confidence back.
Yep.
Sometimes the G League team comes to you. And so same effect.
In the form of the Wizards.
Same effect. You just get a get-right game. You don't actually have to go down to the G League. Klay Thompson's not doing all that. Of course not. But the whole roster really. You go up and you have a tough loss against Boston, and then you just get a reset game. You get a get-right game. And again, I said this. I think I think Washington, I don't think that they just weren't trying. They were so sloppy in a lot of ways with a lot of the rotations. How many times did Gafford just, he was the only guy at the rim? It was a blown coverage. It was like a fast break and it just lobbed over the top, or there's moving parts. PJ had a few of those where PJ crossed over Jonas Valanciunas and there's just nobody waiting for him at the rim. And, I think it's more talent than anything else. Beyond that, I have not watched enough Washington games to really diagnose it, except to say that was.
And who's trying to hurt their eyes watching Washington basketball? Who's trying to do that?
Putrid basketball from them. Just that first quarter, and again, losing Klay Thompson or not paying that much attention to Klay Thompson that many times, just ugly stuff.
Not a recipe for success by leaving Klay Thompson wide open. Let's get to GM Ben's super chat real quick during our first segment. Shout out to Ben with the $1.99 super chat. Quote, Bobby wouldn't order the same meal as me. Sad face. Okay. Bing bong, another super chat from Bobby Corella, the 241 super chat. Quote, it'd be nice to get to play the Wiz 4 times per season. Okay, Bobby, we get it. They're in the East, and Giannis gets to play the East a bunch of 1,000 times. We get it.
Bobby, noted that you spent more on your super chat than GM Ben. Noted. And salute to you.
Salute to you.
You are an honorable man.
You're a real one, Bobby.
You actually support our show.
I feel like
some people.
I feel like Bobby and Ben should try to one up each other in terms of the amount of super chat.
I'm in the Stein seat. I'm in the furthest seat on the end.
Oh, you are.
And so I feel like
you got to take up the mantle.
It's just like there's an energy, like the Green Goblin mask is just calling to me right now. Like I just have to be petty against Ben. It's what Stein would want for me in this seat. So.
That's right, Ardell. You heard the bing bong. Shout out to our DLLS Stars podcast. A couple numbers that stand out in this game. Obviously, the big numbers offensively that the Mavericks had. How about 24 fast break points? They got out on the break early and often. Some of those, of course, were knocking down 3-pointers in transition, but you were able to get some easy buckets in this game as well to put the pressure on Washington. And also, as we mentioned, this team shot 53% from the field, going 49 of 92. But my favorite number on the night, how about 39 assists on the 49 made field goals that the Mavericks had? This is a team, Tim, that's really been in the bottom third in terms of assists per game as a team. Tonight, they were sharing the basketball, but most importantly, shots were going down as the ball was moving, and that's what you like to see for a team, even without Luka, that the ball was moving and shots were falling as a result of that ball movement.
Yeah, again, this is what I said on the postgame show. Just run your offense.
Yeah, on the pregame show, you sure did.
Run your offense, and you will get good shots because the Wizards are bad. And I knew how bad the Wizards were, and I don't think on the pregame show I was quite expecting it to look like this. You could flip it around. The Wizards are bad. Dallas was always going to win this game and by a big margin. The reason it was so big in the first quarter is, 3-point shot variance went their way, and obviously, when you get Klay involved, you're going to rack up a ton of assists. When you have when you're really working to get the ball inside and make sure, or when players are just, your teammates are just appearing open inside, you're going to rack up some assists that way as well. So it's all good. Like I said, this was a get right game. It needed to be a win. I know Dallas has dropped some games that we felt and you guys felt that they should have won. This is just in a different category of what it was. I had no concern about this one and about the squad that was going out there, the Mavericks that were available to go out there, that they were going to get it done. And they did. Yeah,
you'd have to try real hard to lose a game like this against this particular Washington team, Denver. But that has happened before. GM Ben back in the super chat with the $1.99 super chat. Idea, Mavs play OKC and the Wizards 82 times a season. That would be fun. Much like the Chiefs and the Bills, I think the Mavericks and the Thunder are destined to fight each other forever. So that'd be cool. And if you're going to find a way to play the Wizards, half the time as well, I mean, why not?
GM Ben super chat is still lower than Bobby's. We don't
do
it. We don't add. We don't add here.
We don't combine super chats here.
Yeah, we don't combine. Still lower than Bobby's. You're also not doing a 0.41 or a 0.77. That's kind of our bid on this show. Come on now.
He should know that he watches the postgame show all the time.
We haven't mentioned it in a while though. In fairness,
Ardell knows about it. He's in there always.
Ardell
Sarah always dropping in like the correct numbered super chats with different players' numbers attached to it as well. So shout out to all of you in our chat as the Mavericks take care of business at home, 130-108 over the Washington Wizards. Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. When we come back, the turning point of this game, Klay Thompson, the moments that define how the Mavericks won this game, plus a little bit later on our show, our national NBA insider Marc Stein will join us as well. All that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. But first, it's time to get you ready for the East-West Shrine Bowl, the 100th edition of America's oldest college football game, being held right here in the heart of Texas on January 30th at AT&T Stadium. Be a part of history at the making in the 100th edition of the East-West Shrine Bowl. Since 1925, the game has benefited Shriners Children's and its mission to provide innovative pediatric specialty care to improve and transform the lives of children. See some of the nation's top college football players in this head-to-head competition ahead of the NFL draft. You've been following our guy Joe Hoyt's coverage for DLLS Cowboys. He's been out there covering it all for you for DLLS Sports. The East-West Shrine Bowl has served as the starting point for many noteworthy NFL careers, including 80 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and more than 200 members of the College Football Hall of Fame. Tickets start at just $20. Remember, tickets start at just $20, and use code DLLS for purchasing 2 or more tickets to receive 50% off. Visit shrinebowl.com to buy your tickets today for the 100th edition of the East-West Shrine Bowl.
By now, you better know about Game Time. But let me tell you about a new feature of theirs called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. I'm going to a concert tomorrow, and first place I went, grabbed some tickets. Game Time. A little Jamie XX over in Deep Ellum tomorrow night. But I also know this is going to be a big soccer year. And so when I'm looking to weed through and figure out, okay, where's my seat actually? What's it going to look like? Where's the angle? All that. Game Time has that feature right there. So you can go in buying, knowing exactly what you're looking for, exactly what it's going to look like as you watch your favorite team or any team compete in any venue. They have tickets for everything. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Who?
Game Time.
Who?
Game Time. They don't have that in the ad copy anymore. There's just two of us. So
Mavericks win 130-108 at home over the Washington Wizards. The Mavericks now get ready to embark on what is a 5-game road trip, their longest road trip of the season, when they visit the New Orleans Pelicans beginning on Wednesday. But they'll celebrate this win tonight as they led by as many as 38 points in this game. Klay Thompson, 23 points in the first half, knocking down 7 3-pointers, which tied a Mavericks record for most 3-pointers in a quarter period with the 7 that he nailed in that first period, as he set the tone early and often for this Mavericks offense. By the way, tying Luka-Doncic, just in case you were wondering, for the most 3-pointers made in a particular quarter. That gets us to what is
tying who?
Luka-Doncic.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, Luka-Doncic.
Yeah.
Could have been Dirk, but yeah, definitely Luka. But the 7 3-pointers that Klay had in that.
I guess that's pretty obvious. Honestly, if it wasn't Luka, I probably would have guessed Jet.
I would have guessed Dirk, honestly.
Well, Dirk never got up. I'm not sure Dirk even had any quarter he even shot 7 threes.
Oh, we'd have to look at that. We could use Bobby Carella, our resident, statistician.
I didn't think to look that up. I could have looked it up.
I'm sure if Bobby's still watching and listening, he would probably look up that statistic to see how many. What's the most 3-pointers Dirk ever took in a quarter?
Or I would try to do it.
If anybody can find it, Bobby can find it for sure. But yeah, that was, look, I'm going to ask you, because you were in the building, obviously, for the game itself. And we talk about, with our title card being a vintage Klay performance, what was the feeling like in the building as Klay is knocking down 3 after 3, kind of building that early offensive momentum for Dallas in there?
Oh, there's a biblical feeling. There is something special when Klay Thompson is going. There's just you can see the fear build in the opponent as, the 4th and the 5th 3 go down, and they realize, oh, right. Yeah, maybe we should have been guarding this guy a little bit differently, a little bit closer. But yeah, there's just a buzz that builds. And honestly, so he missed his last 3, shot it way, way too hard. And that was one of the loudest sighs, like the loudest, and then, that's one of the loudest
ready
one
to
of
explode,
those.
huh?
Yeah, one of the loudest one of those I've heard in the American Airlines Center all season.
Yeah.
But right after that, the ball caromed around and it ended up in Spencer Dinwiddie's hand. and he was about to pass to Klay, and Klay subs out right after this, but he gets deflected out, or he does pass, but he gets deflected out of bounds instead of like reaching Klay, and Klay was about to take another one, and there was a second sigh, right after that of everybody being like, damn, if only that ball had got to him.
Yeah.
Because that would have been wide open, and everybody was hyped for it. So I remember like looking around after probably a 6-3, and a bunch of people were just like, a bunch of fans were just like turning and looking at each other like, can you believe this? Like, can you believe this?
Oh, that's the look they were giving?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. One of my buddies who was there tonight, shout out Matt, I was like, why are you at a Wizards game? Why is this the one you chose to go to? And he's like, well, my friend just was like, do you want to go to a Mavs game on this date, on the 27th? And he instantly said yes. And he's like, well, so I kind of got tricked. It was the Wizards.
Yeah.
He ended up being okay with it.
Okay.
Like there's always something, you never know what you're going to see at when you go to an NBA game. And this was a fun one to be at, I think, for anybody who was there. Yeah,
anything can happen in the association on any given night, and tonight it was Klay's night, especially in that first quarter, which is our turning point in the game. And obviously, the Mavericks won the 42 points in the first quarter that they did. I mean, they got out to a hot start in the first 4.5 minutes. They got out to what was a 15-2 start. Overall, it wound up becoming a 24-5 start in the first 5.5 minutes of this game. Klay had 15 of the first 24 points that the Mavericks scored. And again, you were in the building. It was kind of weird because as Tanner and I were watching the game, Klay hit 1 3, and during a break, it was reviewed and changed to a 3. Klay hit another one later on in the first quarter that was ruled a 2, but then it was changed to a 3. I don't think I've seen 2 of those within the same quarter happen for the same player in terms of the threes, but clearly someone couldn't see the 3-point line tonight because Klay was clearly behind it on both of those. And they wound up changing them to 3-pointers after initially.
Okay, so it was 2 reviews. I thought
2 of them, yeah.
I thought they just announced it twice.
No, it was 2 different ones.
I wasn't sure what was going on. Like, they all looked like 3s to me, and I was a little confused when 2s were just showing up. But
yeah.
Look, I think that out of everybody there's not many humans alive who have a better sense of where the 3-point arc is than Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
I think you should probably give him the benefit of the doubt. And, yeah.
Yeah, Tanner and I were like, what's wrong with the referee's eyes tonight? Because this is the second time it happened before, so they did get it correct. The Mavericks wound up going 9 of 13 in the first quarter from downtown at a 69% clip. Overall, shooting nearly 62% from the field. And, you talked about a little bit in the first segment, the amount of threes that they were able to generate. They made 20 in this game, took 22 overall in the game on Saturday. You simply got to play a little bit better math game when it comes to knocking down and taking 3-pointers. It took 45 tonight and were able to get the 20 that they made. But just a start, it felt like it was a concerted effort on the Mavericks' part against a team that you should be able to get some good offense off of against this a bad Washington Wizards defense, that they made a concerted effort to get after it from the 3-point line and to get themselves going from distance. And fortunately, those shots went down. Sometimes when you start making a concerted effort to shoot threes, it doesn't necessarily happen. But tonight, they were fortunate that the 3 ball was falling for them.
Yeah, again, this team needs to shoot more than they did against Boston, but it's more than that. I mean, this offense is good because it has a lot of good shooters. Like that's a huge part of what this team does. And Klay Thompson is the guy who should be leading them in 3-point shooting, a lot of the nights, especially when it comes to like the focal point of the offense in terms of, who are you trying to get the ball to once your guards break down the defense? Obviously, when Luka and Kyrie are healthy, like there's going to be a lot of games where they take more threes than anybody does, including Klay. But that's more off that's more how they're choosing to break down the defense. Getting the ball to Klay is good. It was clearly an emphasis to open the game. Jason Kidd talked a little bit about it. I just had the quote from Noah Weber. Jason Kidd said it was something that was done early. We set screens, we ran stuff for him. He responded in a positive way. Klay is very unselfish. They made a conscious effort to get Klay going early, and he responded in a positive way and just made the game easier for everyone else. I'm not repeating myself. That's Jason Kidd. Just saying the same thing. But he's right. That was the emphasis. That was the emphasis. And, get him going. This is a perfect game to focus on that, to find him some shots. He is absolutely capable of this. He is just as much a lethal part of this offense as anybody else. And so for them to, really hone in on that just makes a lot of sense. And it's not going to look like this every night. Again, I have some thoughts. I'll save them for a little bit later. I don't think we quite have time to get all the way into them just yet. But it is harder sometimes to get Klay Thompson shots against really good defenses, especially when Luka's not out there. But this was not a very good defense. And Dallas does try. They do run a lot of these actions that Klay came open on tonight. They do run a lot of those actions in a lot of games. Now, they ran a lot more in this one, but the Wizards defended these actions way worse.
Sure.
And I think the other thing I guess the one thing that does stand out to me is that once Klay hits a couple threes, it does seem like, man, there is no hesitation. If he feels like he's going. So if there is, something to look at, it's, does Dallas open every game trying to get Klay going?
Like the P.J. post up.
yeah. Because sometimes maybe that's the best case scenario. That's the thing that could truly completely transform a game is if Klay hits a couple threes to open a game, defenders are going to be thinking about it the rest of the night. And yes, they're going to be thinking about it. They should always be thinking about Klay Thompson. But, oh my God. The difference that a few early threes makes from him is just, it's so demoralizing to a defense. So that is something to think about, I guess. But overall, I think Dallas certainly has a lot of actions, has a lot they do to try to get Klay open. It's just harder to do without Luka. I'm really glad, and it was a lot of fun to watch it really get going tonight.
Mavericks led by as many as 38 in the second quarter, and obviously it was over from there. I think for me, watching the way that the Mavericks ran their actions to get Klay Thompson open a number of times in this game, it serves as a really good reminder that when 77 comes back, the amount of pressure that he puts on defenses and the amount of attention that he and Kyrie Irving will command being on the floor together at the same time as Klay Thompson and what those open looks are like and generated by those two, it's good to be reminded that Klay can knock those down when he gets the time and space to be able to get and rise up for clean looks, because even with the unbalanced looks that he had, he was able to knock down a couple of those. But tonight is a reminder that when Luka is back on the floor, those threes that Klay took are even that much better and that much cleaner when he's on the floor with them. And hopefully we'll get to see that soon when it comes to 77 being back on the floor, because we talked about it leading into the season, how lethal this offense could be when Klay is on the floor with Luka and Kyrie. We haven't got a chance to obviously much of that this year, but even in a night when you're playing against a bad Wizards defense, when you're running your offense and you're running with clean looks for guys like Klay and others against better teams with your guys being full strength, this is kind of what can happen with Klay Thompson when he gets to knocking down open shots.
When Stein comes on, should we ask him again when Luka's going to be back?
I mean, that's the $77 million question at this point. When is Luka coming back?
I think it'd be the 77th time that we've asked him.
Probably.
But what if this time
at least
he has
online too? Yeah.
What if this time he knows?
Are you trying to give us a tease from when Stein comes on? Is that what you just did?
No.
Okay.
I'm just joking. That, no.
But it was a lot of fun. Tanner was having a good time. He was getting up, jumping around. Weren't you? You was excited, weren't you?
Both of us did. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have your mic on?
Now I do, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Did y'all see I Googled to try and find out the Dirk three-pointer thing?
Oh, you did?
Google AI told me that Dirk made 26 three-pointers in a single game.
Yeah, he did. I was there. I was at that game. No, he did.
I think Google AI still needs to work some kinks out.
Maybe Google AI isn't quite there yet.
Maybe they should leave it to China.
Mavericks win comfortably at the AAC 130-108 over the Washington Wizards. Big night for Klay Thompson. Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. No Google AI for Tanner. No more of that. But we will have Marc Stein, our national NBA insider, joining us live from the American Airlines Center. His thoughts on tonight's game as the Mavericks get ready to go on a 5-game road trip beginning on Wednesday. All that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
Bobby's gone, which means I get to read and tell you about my favorite thing. Floors. With Empower Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. No, seriously, like I feel like Bobby's been getting all the Empower Today reads. I love floors as much as him. Nobody knows this. Empower Today is the best place to get flooring. That's why I love them so much. That's why I think it's unfair that only Bobby gets to talk about them. Because Empire Today can't be beaten on quality, service, speed. They oh my God. I got too caught up with my bit and I just lost my place. I just love floors. Empire Today, shout out them. If you need floors, go to Empire Today. Schedule a free at-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off discount when they use promo code DLLS. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. Now we see why Bobby reads this one.
Let me talk to you about Rugged Row. I got a Rugged Row cooler sitting right next to me here on the DLLS Sports Studios set. Rugged Row is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the very best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions, or reads in Tim's case, whether you're on land or water. Rugged Row gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. Crafted to handle the toughest conditions and environments, their coolers are built to last, ensuring they keep up with any adventure. These coolers are guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, but oftentimes much longer than that. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing to tubing to camping to tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor and sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Row coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Row is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off. Again, DLLS for 10% off your Rugged Row cooler today. Let's go out to
Not
the
yet.
American.
Sorry, he is not called in yet. So.
Oh, fourth segment. Fourth segment is just time. That's fine. That's fine. We can do a little.
Oh, he said doesn't seem to be connecting. We'll work on that. Keep talking.
We'll work on that. We'll get Stein in here in a second.
Come on, Dapper Stein now. Come on now.
Kyler Kelly, I don't think we need to spend more than 1 minute talking about him, but
that's about all he played anyway. No, I'm just joking.
He played 8 minutes.
Yeah, he did play all.
He got 1 point. He scored
a free throw.
But hey, shout out to him. His first NBA minutes. He is a scorer in the National Basketball Association. Congratulations to Kyler Kelly.
He's got a point.
Sarah said earlier that people were being mean to him. I don't know where she was seeing that, but
who was being mean to Kyler Kelly?
Yeah,
he just got here.
Yeah, I did not see anybody being mean to him, but I'm sure it happened. Sarah's not a liar. But I would say that, there were a few people who seemed to think before the game that he was like for sure getting minutes. And it was not clear to me in Jason Kidd's comments that he was for sure going to be in the rotation. Just that he was available to play if needed. And yeah, he was not in the rotation tonight. He was the last player to come in. Markieff Morris.
Yeah, Markieff was getting some minutes.
Markieff got third quarter minutes.
He got real minutes tonight.
Yeah. But yeah, big tall body who grabbed some rebounds. Maybe it's a useful player to have as a emergency center. We have no more idea how much he could or will possibly have to hold up against a tougher, stouter matchup. But it was nice, nice little moment for him. The American Airlines Center, noticeably, when he hit his free throw, they gave him like a little bit more of a standing ovation. Like a lot of people in the arena understood what was happening. And look, if you're at a Washington Wizards game, if you're at Mavs Wizards,
you're a sicko for one.
You probably are a sicko. So you do know everything about Kyler Kelly and that he was the first guy in there. If we're still waiting, I want to talk about Omax a little bit.
Omax tied a career high with 20 points tonight. Good game for him once again.
If Omax hadn't been looking a bit different over the past weeks, I would pretty simply just be like, all right, Wizards, I can't react to this. Wizards, Wizards, Wizards. Like asterisk,
Wiz alert.
Not asterisk, but it's just like what you do against the Wizards doesn't necessarily dictate what you're going to do against anybody else. But Omax has been playing better for a while. So we got Stein now.
Yep.
Okay, we'll come back to Omax.
We got
He's been
plenty of
good.
time to talk about Max. Let's welcome in. Oh, okay, with the Andrew Whitworth Blazer jacket.
Hello,
hoodie,
Marc Stein.
The hoodie jacket look tonight for
Are the
Dapper
Mavericks
Stein.
making a trade?
Well, hold on. Let's properly introduce our National NBA Insider, Marc Stein. You can always dial up the Stein line for our National NBA Insider, Marc Stein, at the Stein line. As I mentioned, pulling the Andrew Whitworth jacket hoodie combination. Dapper Stein, how are you this evening?
I'm good, guys. I didn't know there would be no Bobby. I didn't know Cato would be in studio. I didn't get any of the memos.
I got a memo very late about this. So, well, let me rephrase.
You knew in enough time that you knew this needed to be
I
in the
knew
studio.
last week, but I didn't even know where Bobby was going or why he was gone. I thought it was something totally different. So, but yeah, I don't want to. Kevin would be lonely in the studio.
That's sweet, Tim. I
without
appreciate
anybody.
you hanging out with me. Yes.
It was the Wizards, Mark. I could sneak out at a little bit before the final buzzer. I think it's okay.
Because they left just as much as the Wizards showed up tonight early. So let's talk about it, though. Someone who knows Klay Thompson very, very well. Vintage Klay tonight. 7 3-pointers in the first quarter, 23 points in the first half. A lot of fun to watch Klay kind of do his thing and have one of those games that, we used to be reminded of in the past from him.
Yeah, it's funny, because I did some checking after the game. Based on what I was told, there were really no offensive tweaks. The feeling that was relayed to me was that his teammates really just were looking for him more early, and he got hot. I know Klay, after the game at his press conference, talked about the warm-up he had pregame with Jared Dudley, getting him ready. I watched most of that warm-up, and, Klay was – it was a nothing but net pregame session, really. But obviously a welcome sight, not just for him, but I think the team was actually somewhat apprehensive about this to a degree, because this was a must-win, really, when you think about how long this month has been, how much they've struggled without Luka. Coming into tonight, what was it, 5-11, if you include the Christmas Day loss when Luka was lost, and only the Washingtons, the Brooklyns of the world have fared worse in that stretch than the Mavs. And so when you think about a 5-game trip looming, this legit was must win. So to have the kind of start they have, to see Klay just go off, to look up at the scoreboard and see a reading of 28-7 early, that was as welcome a sight as the Mavericks have had this month.
And I do think what you said early on about Klay, that it's not that they overhauled the offense. It's not like they all of a sudden overnight became the Golden State Warriors motion offense and just installed that so Klay could have like a good game. These are all actions that Dallas has been running for Klay Thompson since the moment he stepped into the gym. Like, this is all stuff that is very familiar to it. Now, the frequency was a bit higher, and there was a lot more emphasis on it early on, obviously, just based off the eye test. And it's very interesting to hear that it was, very much player directed. But yeah, this is everything here, everything you saw from Klay, is stuff that we've seen from Klay all season in spurts. But it's really cool to see, that's the longest, most extended stretch of, a Klay inferno that we have seen this season. It's a lot of fun to watch, man. I've witnessed some killer Klay games. I was at Game 6 in 2016 of the conference finals when he torched the Thunder to send that series back home to a Game 7 that the Warriors won, which obviously took them to a very infamous NBA Finals. But I was at that game. I've been at some Klay games, but it's still such a joy. I'm sure even for you. I know for you. I know you're a basketball enjoyer. It is very cool to see legendary players who will be Hall of Famers, still have stretches like that.
I'm super lucky. I think I've seen most of the ones that people would consider to be the true standouts in his career. that OKC game you mentioned, the 37-point quarter, the 60-point game on 11 dribbles.
Man.
I always say I always say I don't trust my memory anymore at this point, but I mean those I was lucky enough to pretty much be at all of those. And look, when he gets hot, there are few people who can match it. And he's just so hard on himself. I mean,
he was upset at himself, like leaving the court in the third quarter. It looked like because he had just like turned the ball over it, and he like just had this game, and he was upset like leaving the court in the third. I thought.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to make every shot. He never expects to miss one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, again, it was great to see him go off. It was great to see a concerted effort to find him. But most of all, it is just great for the Mavericks to have an incident-free evening that put a win on the board. In the West, Lakers won tonight. Kings won tonight. Like, get a win on the board because they're about to go on the road. And again, everything this month has been bumpy, difficult, challenging. And so, I mean, I think everybody on that side of the arena, on that bench, was just thrilled to have a night like this.
Mavericks get their first win this season when Klay Thompson's the leading scorer in a game with the 23 points that he had tonight, all coming in the first half. Mark, you started to mention this team is about to embark on their longest road trip of the season starting on Wednesday against the Pelicans, a 5-game road trip. The health of this team is obviously the biggest story for them going forward. As you start to look toward this trip, where did the Mavericks stand from a health perspective, knowing the difficulty that's coming, and hopefully as the calendar turns to February, a certain 5-time first-team All-NBA selection player hopefully is getting closer to a return?
Well, as you know, on Saturday afternoon, I reported that there is optimism that Lukadoncic will be back before the All-Star break, but obviously not during this road trip. That's not on the table. If we indeed see him before the All-Star break, it's going to fall in that range of 4 home games before the All-Star break. Dante Exum, we're seeing a lot more of him. Watched his pregame shooting routine. But same thing, I wouldn't expect that Exum's return happens on this trip either. And they were out 6 guys tonight. So can Dwight Powell return at some point on this trip? I got to look at the box score to get all the names. I mean, who else am I leaving out?
Lively, Powell, Maxey, Exum, Luka, Najee.
Lively and Maxey are obviously long-term injuries. So, do they maybe get Powell back now at some point during this road trip? I mean, they need anybody and everybody who can go. But, then there was the other kind of, storyline of the night with Kyler Kelly making his NBA debut. And, I don't know that we can glean too much from it, but you had to be happy for him just to watch a 27-year-old get his first chance. And man, so close before the foul to having a very memorable first NBA basket. Had he been able to finish that alley-oop through contact, could not, but was out there, got some rebounds, got his first NBA point, and yeah, I think we'll be seeing more of him. I think he will get some chances.
Well, the Mavericks need all the healthy bodies they can get. Road games coming up against the Pelicans, the Pistons, the Cavaliers, the 76ers, and the Boston Celtics, who, by the way, lost at home tonight to a surging Houston Rockets team. The Rockets are a for-real team. They go on the road and beat Boston by a couple of points. So Houston playing.
There's an important angle that I know we haven't discussed, but something that needs to be monitored. I'm actually sad that Bobby's not here for this because this is his kind of story. But the 1991-92 Mavericks, they were 11-71. There was no YouTube. There was no DLLS. It would have been interesting to see how we would have handled an 11-71 season. But that team, it did win 2 more games than the 9-73 Sixers, who are basically synonymous with NBA infamy, even though the Charlotte Bobcats actually had a worse winning percentage in the 66-game season that was right after the Mavericks winning a championship. But I bring all this up because that 11-71 Mavs team in 91-92 has the worst average scoring margin in league history, minus 15.2. Their average nightly scoring margin was minus 15.2. This Wizards team has been in the 14s pretty much all season. This Wizards team has a chance to bump the Mavs out of that spot in the record books you don't want. So tonight's win, it was not, it looked like early on that this could be way more of a laugher than it was. But not only did the Mavs get the win, but they contributed to that quest that only an absolute basketball historian nerd like me would pay attention to. But hey, that is something to monitor. Can these Wizards avoid matching that 11-71 Mavs team as the most routinely routed team in league history?
Well, I would recommend they guard possibly the second best shooter of all time. That if they ever play another player who's the second best shooter of all time, maybe they should try guarding that player. That might be a first.
That might help. But shout out to the Wizards.
One other. Sorry, I just looked at my notes because I can't remember. I have to write them down. I can't remember them all, so that's my bad. You asked me about health status and the team. So obviously, Najee Marshall was obviously also still missing, still battling this illness. I was told he really gave it a go yesterday to try to get clearance for today, still struggling through it. I do think we're going to see him on this trip. I do think he is inching closer to a return. But obviously they have missed. I mean, when you don't have Luka, you really miss Najee Marshall. And, I mean, the illness, I mean, he has just missed so many games through illness. So can they find – I do think that they will welcome him back on this trip, specifically when we don't know yet. But he is getting closer, I am told.
Well, Mark, dapper as always. We appreciate you reporting live from the American Airlines Center. And
but before I go, sorry, Kate, I know you wrote a break, but just how was this segment with Cato at your side and no Corella?
Oh, good. Tim has been a very good.
How did the chat respond to it?
Choose your words wisely.
He went real fumble-rooski on his ad read with Empire today, but other than that, he's been clean tonight. He's been good. He's been good.
I have been sharp and charming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Debatable analysis.
Well, here I will.
We gotta go to break.
I'll leave you with this, Mark. GM Ben.
We're all the next 5 games in a row. We're all together in the studio.
That's
See you guys soon.
Bye, Mark.
Gonna tell him about the GM Ben thing.
We'll tell him
later. We'll tell him later.
That's our National NBA insider, Marc Stein, going to join us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Let's go to break here on the postgame show. When we come back, more on how the role players helped the Mavericks get this win tonight against the Wizards. We'll do that next year on the podcast. But first, you got to become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. Go to alldlls.com to become a diehard member here with us and join our over 14,200 strong as a subscriber, and also becoming a diehard member by clicking on that QR code that Tim Cato is pointing at with accuracy, unlike his read earlier tonight. But at the same time, alldlls.com to become a diehard member for less than $7 a month. We've got our member-only Discord. We've got 20% off events as well. With our website, you get access to premium content from the Cowboys, Stars, Rangers, and Mavericks. Also with our college teams as well, with TCU. We've got so many things coming. Plus, Tanner, coming up on February 6th, live at Cosm at 6:30 p.m., we are having our watch party at Cosm as the Mavericks take on the Celtics as they look to avenge their loss from Saturday in an immersive sports viewing experience at Cosm. I don't remember the amount of tickets that we have left, but I know it was less than 9 at last check, maybe less than 8, maybe less than 7. But if you want to be a part of that, Go to alldlls.com. Get your tickets to be part with us here for the DLLS Mavs watch party on February 6th, again at Cosm, with tip-off at 6:30 p.m. as well. Again, so many bennies, as our guy Bobby would say, with the...
I just call them bins.
You call them bins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love when I have some good bins.
You got some, okay.
Yeah.
We have some of our diehard members in the chat.
You want me to call them fits?
You can call them fits. You can call them whatever you want.
No, bins works better.
Just get them by becoming a diehard member. We got some diehards in the chat, including Sarah, one of our loyal diehards as well. If you want to join her and the rest of our diehards here at DLLS Sports, again, alldlls.com. Tag us on social media. You get your physical diehard card as well. Show that off. Tag us on social media. Let us know you're part of our family here and become part of the movement that is DLLS Sports, even when Philly makes the Super Bowl. Shout out to our All-City Network brethren in Philadelphia. Kind of. No, I'm just joking. As the Philadelphia Eagles. I know, Tanner. I know. I got to be a company man. They made the Super Bowl, and it's unfortunate. But the Cowboys got a new head coach, though. Got a new head coach introducing today. Shout out to our guys on the DLLS Cowboys podcast. Mavericks clobber the Wizards 130-108 at home to get their 25th win of the season. Now 25-22 after 47 games. Important win, by the way. Tim, I wanted to bring this up because, we kind of looked at the schedule once we kind of knew how much time lukadoncic was going to be missing. Like, how many games did you need to win to try to keep yourself afloat by the time you get to when Luka returns? With their win, this is their 5th win in the month of January. And I'm trying to remember how many wins that you said that they needed to try to have by the time they got to the turn from January to February to give themselves a chance to be at least 500 or better by the time.
I said 25 by the All-Star break. Felt like the bare minimum.
Okay. Well, they've met that. They got 25.
They've got 25, and if Luka's coming back with a few games to go, they've got more. There's more room for them to, Sorry. There's just like more. What am I trying to say?
Margin for error.
Margin for error.
Maybe.
Thank you. I don't know why my brain was just escaping this. This is great podcasting.
By the way, Tanner threw in the chat, by the way, the link for the
Yes.
The watch party at Cosmo. So make sure you check that out. Click that link and get your tickets.
So I think Dallas is going to be okay. So when we talk margin for error, obviously the worry is that you could still have someone get hurt again.
Sure.
Just because you've had a cursed injury-laden season does not mean that it's over, I fear. I mean, I'm not hoping that. I'm not trying to project that. I guess I'm doing the opposite of jinxing them. I'm just saying it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. And that's obviously the worst case scenario. Is Luka, if he comes back, honestly, I don't really want to put that in the world, but there are scenarios where things don't go as well. But I would say overall, Dallas is in a good place. I think they have overperformed in some ways, even as they've underperformed in specific games. But they've overperformed at times and in certain areas, and they beat the Thunder, for God's sake. So to have 25, to potentially have 27, 28. I will also say a lot of what I was basing this around was the idea that Dallas would win 20 of their last 26 games. That's how much they have after the All-Star break. Like, if they just go on this incredible run to close the season, and I do think this team's capable of it.
Yeah.
Like, I do think this team is talented enough to do it, and they did it last year. But the circumstances are different than last year. Luka, he was a little banged up, at times, but he played the entire stretch. So did Kyrie.
And unfortunately, this year though, you won't have Lively during that stretch.
Lively missed a bit down towards the end, but that was also obviously his mother passed.
Mm-hmm.
But the team was awesome and in that stretch, and I think it's good if Dallas doesn't have those same expectations. I don't think it's good to go into any stretch of basketball and expect yourself to play, 80% basketball.
Yeah.
800 basketball. That's not good. So for Dallas, if they have a margin for error, just to go get the 5th or 6th seed. And it sucks. It sucks because we were talking before the season about, is this the year? Are they going to finish first? Could they finish first? How are they going to have? They're going to finally have home court advantage.
At least be a top 4 seed at minimum.
We were so sure.
Yes.
They were finally going to have home court advantage in the first round. We're certain of it. We were almost as certain as I was that Markelle Fultz was a can't-miss prospect. I was just talking about about this the other day with somebody, and it was just like,
it's a random way to bring up Markelle Fultz, but
I mean, it is, but I don't know. It came to mind. Even things that you are very sure of.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way, specifically due to injuries. But yeah, I think Dallas is in a good place, and I suspect there might be some dark times on this road trip.
I mean, it's a difficult...
And that's a good reason why you brought this up.
Yeah.
Because this road trip might not be very fun, and I do think things are still okay.
I mean, with the win tonight, they're 8th in the West at 25-22. Minnesota sitting there at 25-21. The Lakers and the Clippers sitting there at 5 and the 6th seed. Lakers with their win tonight moved to 26-18. Clippers at 26-19. So you're still flirting in that top 8 range right now. But as you mentioned, with the road trip that they're about to go on, they start with New Orleans on Wednesday. And the last time they played the Pelicans, there was no Zion Williams. So I would bet that Zion plays this game coming up on Wednesday. So that's not necessarily going to be a gimme when you go to New Orleans. And then you start looking at what they have after that.
What's the status? Is goaltending healthy for that game? Or is it gonna be absent as well?
I'm sure officials will be on high alert for goaltending violations in that game against the Pelicans, which again is on the road. But then you got to go to Detroit, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and Boston. Detroit's no punk. Detroit right now, if the season were to end today, would be in the playoffs. Yeah. In fact, in the top 6 in the Eastern Conference. And then you got to take on Cleveland. We know how good Cleveland's been, but they've been struggling a little bit as of late. And then, of course, Philadelphia, we don't know really what they are at this point because they don't know what they are really at this particular point in the season. And then you got the rematch, as we mentioned, February 6th with Boston, this time on the road. And you know what they just did to the Mavericks on Saturday. And then, honestly, you come home after that for what is 4 straight games before the All-Star break. You got Houston, Sacramento, Golden State, and Miami. Real quick, if you didn't see it, I don't know how you could miss it. Jimmy Butler was suspended again by the Miami Heat, this time suspended indefinitely.
I'm so tired of the storyline.
My man decided to walk off the practice floor after he found out that Haywood Highsmith was going to be starting in his place for him. Jimmy Butler said, okay, that's cool with y'all. I'm out of here. So he's suspended indefinitely for the Miami Heat.
I don't know. Let's say I'm his agent. So Jimmy Butler, my client, was given he was giving very troubling news. Emotionally troubling. He stepped off the court for a couple minutes to collect his thoughts, to think about, to process his emotions in a healthy way, and in a way that, in fact, has been recommended by years of counseling. And then when he came back out onto the practice court, what happened? He was told that he was suspended indefinitely. All he was doing was trying to be a good team player.
Man, get the bleep out of here.
He was trying to be connected with his thoughts. And wow, the big ol' Heat come down with their boot right on his forehead. Unbelievable.
Pat Riley said, let me connect you with this suspension again. How about that? And he's gone indefinitely.
I just love alternate histories.
Like, it's really kind of silly at this point, the whole saga between Jimmy Butler and Miami. But again, I pointed out because the Mavericks will be seeing Miami on February 13th. That's the final game before the All-Star break for this team. So yes, Tim is on fire, Luke. Shout out to you. Tim is in rare form tonight. Like Sarah said earlier, he's exhausted. He's tired. He's had a long day.
I didn't sleep as much as I should last night. That is probably.
Oh, that's why you've been on one tonight? That's what's going on with you?
Yeah, I'm fine though. I'm just having fun. I'm living in the moment.
You're right, Ardell. Jimmy Butler leaves destruction in the wake of every team that he's ever gone to and left. He might get you to a finals or something like he did with Miami a couple times. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's just all bad there in Miami. Real quick before we finish up here, I want to thank our television audience for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show as the Mavericks win 130-108. We'll have our regular show. How about this, boys and girls? Our regular show at 1 p.m. tomorrow right here on DLLS Sports. I can't even remember the last time we did a regular show. It's been a while since we had our regular podcast.
Like last week, I think.
Was it last week?
Maybe.
I don't think so. It's all running together at this point.
Yeah.
Tan's like, yeah, it was.
They do blur together a little bit.
They do. So join us, make sure at 1 p.m. tomorrow for the DLLS Mavs podcast. as we finish up here with our YouTube audience. Again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports. But yeah, as we look forward to, we'll have a regular show tomorrow. This is a trip that's going to determine a lot of ways what this team is going to look like by the time, hopefully, Luka comes back. I mean, the earliest maybe I'm just guesstimating, kind of recce-specking. No, I'm just joking. Maybe February 8th. Maybe February 8th when they take on Houston here in Dallas. That might be a good date to look at, but we'll see. But they needed to get this win. They needed to get this win tonight. Yeah. Like, they needed to get this win before starting that road trip, because it's not going to be an easy one. So shout out to Klay Thompson with the 23 points that he had in the first half, 7 3-pointers in the first quarter, tying a Mavericks record for most 3-pointers in a quarter. Daniel Gafford, 5 blocks again tonight. 4th game this season, he's had at least 5 blocks. Omax tying a career high with 20 points. 6 guys with at least 10 points. 21st time that's been done. A lot of guys contributing to this win. Ardell, this is a KG, don't do it. Look, man, I want Luka back just as bad as you do, Ardell. I hear your pain. I feel your pain. I want Luka back just as much. So does Klay Thompson, I'm sure, to generate the open 3-pointers. But celebrate the win tonight. We'll be back tomorrow.
Can I leave us with one?
Oh, you got a Bobbyism before we go?
I just got one statement to make.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure he's there yet, but he might be.
Oh.
But Amen Thompson is the 3rd best basketball player in the state of Texas.
3rd best basketball player in the state of Texas?
Yep. Or very soon to be.
What? Oh, wow. That's a declarative. That's a real
better than Kyrie already.
It's the Kyrie line that I'm debating.
Yeah.
I think he's the best Rocket. Luka would be the only 2 guys I got ahead of him.
Better than Alperen Sengun?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Obviously, Thompson's one of the best defenders in the league. Like, he's becoming one of the best perimeter defenders in the league.
33 tonight, hit the game winner.
He dropped 33 tonight? Oh, that's how they wound up beating Boston?
Yeah, with a little Amen Thompson game winner.
Ooh, see, that's the thing. That's the thing real quick when it comes to Thompson. Like, if he can start knocking down shots, then it becomes a whole different deal.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to. He hit 1 3 tonight. He took 2. That is maybe the most athletic player I have ever seen in my entire life.
He's good.
Like in terms of oh my god.
Yeah.
What a player. He's starting for them of late. Last 14 games, or like 13-1 in those 14.
He's a demon on the defensive end, man.
Player.
Yeah.
And for some reason he hates Maxey. We still haven't figured that one out. But yeah, Amen Thompson, hell of a player.
Yeah, Ime's got that team playing defense. Like they're legit. Like I said, we mentioned they beat the Celtics tonight. That the Rockets are playing some terrific basketball, and to be respected because they are playing very well as of late. Again, the Mavericks will see them on February 8th at the American Airlines Center. We thank all of you for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. A lot of fun with all of you. Shout out to Ardell. Shout out to Soren. Shout out to Luke, to Sarah, all of y'all diehards in here in the chat. Well, John, I see you in there as well. We really appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Again, we'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. for our regular podcast at 1 p.m. Maybe Bobby will join us. He probably won't because he's on business. He won't join us. I just had to say that because Bobby wanted to, just had to mention him. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on the way out the door. For our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, I'm your host, Kevin Gray. Mavericks win 130-108 over the Washington Wizards. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.